Hi, it's Michelle. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be doing another used book haul. I know. But you know what? In my defense, I did just move into a new house where I get to have a home library, and I am in the process of collecting books for said library. Most of these books are four different collections that I intend on having in my library, or they're books that I'm going to be reading in the Killer Reads book club, and one of the books is going to be a buddy read. The first book that I got is one of the ones for the Killer Reads book club. We're going to be reading it next month in May, and I will put the link, the original link that my friend AJ did, down in the description box of this video if you want to see what the book club is, what it's about. Any of you can become a part of it if you want, and we would love to have you. The book that we're reading in May is The Shining by Stephen King, and I've been looking for this book for the longest time. I think since AJ announced the book club, I've been looking for this book. And it's so frustrating because I wanted to get a vintage copy that had a really cool cover. I didn't care if it was worth anything. I just didn't want a cover that I wasn't excited about for a book like The Shining, which in my opinion is a modern day classic. I did read this book when I was in high school and I loved it. I don't remember a whole lot about the book. I just remember what I've seen in the movies, or I just remember what I've seen in the movie. And as per usual, I'm either going to read the synopsis or a blurb on the back of each book. I'm going to assume that none of you have read any of the books that I'm talking about, so I'm going to pretend that none of you have any idea what The Shining is about. Jack Torrance's new job at the Overlook Hotel is the perfect chance for a fresh start. As the off-season caretaker at the atmospheric old hotel, he'll have plenty of time to spend reconnecting with his family and working on his writing. But as the harsh winter weather sets in, the idyllic location feels ever more remote and more sinister. And the only one to notice the strange and terrible forces gathering around the Overlook is Danny Torrance, a uniquely gifted 5-year-old. I got this from Better World Books, and this and the next few books I'll show you are from Better World Books. I ordered a used book, but they sent me a new one, which is fine with me, unless this is used and somebody just left absolutely no proof that they had read it. I mean, the spine is fully intact. None of the pages are dog-eared. It just doesn't look like it's ever been read by anyone. Down in the description box, I will put a list of all of the books that I'm mentioning today, along with timestamps and where the books came from, so you can skip around if you want to. Also, feel free to mention down in the comments if you've read any of these books, or if you want to read any of them, or if you have any thoughts about any of them. The next book is the June selection for the Killer Reads book club, and it's called The Widow by Fiona Barton. Following the twists and turns of an unimaginable crime, The Widow is an electrifying debut thriller that will take you into the dark spaces that exist between a husband and a wife. I love books about relationships, and I'm definitely looking forward to reading this. There's something very creepy about the thought of a marriage that's full of secrets and darkness. Then I got One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest by Kesey. And this is the book club's selection for July. Boisterous, ribald, and ultimately shattering, this is the unforgettable story of a mental ward and its inhabitants, especially the tyrannical big nurse and Randall Patrick McMurphy, the brawling, life-loving new inmate who resolves to oppose her. We see the struggle through the eyes of Chief Bromden, the seemingly mute half-Indian patient who witnesses and understands McMurphy's heroic attempt to do battle with the awesome power of the Combine. This is kind of crazy. I've never read this book and I've never seen the movie, so I don't know what I'm getting myself into, but another book that was made into a movie with Jack Nicholson. Hi, Marty. Do you want to come up and say hi, or? I don't know what's going on with Marty. I've brought his little perch and set it here, and he doesn't seem to want to sit on it when I'm filming, but then he comes up and starts playing with the books that are on the floor. So I'm not sure what to do with him. Do you want to say hi? Say hello. See, he doesn't want to say hi. He wants to talk, but he doesn't want to look at the camera, right? Okay. He's such a silly little man, huh? The next book that I got is a buddy read that I'm going to be doing with my friend AJ. This is their favorite book of all time. I read it in elementary school. I don't remember a lot about it. Oh, what did you do? No. Okay. Sorry, Marty just knocked over a pile of books and had to get them fixed. Okay. A loving threesome. They ranged the dark hills and river bottoms of Cherokee County. Old Dan had the brawn, little Ann had the brains, and Billy had the will to train them to be the finest hunting team in the valley. Glory and victory were coming to them, but sadness waited too, and close by was the strange and wonderful power that's only found where the red fern grows. The next one I got was the Babysitter's Club Mystery Number 3, Mallory and the Ghost Cat. And this mystery series from the Babysitter's Club, this is part of what I want to have as my collection. I want to have the first 10 books of the Babysitter's Club, the original with the apple on the side books, and then the mystery series. And that's it. I don't feel like I need to have all the Babysitter's Club books because that's a lot of books. One night when Mallory is babysitting for the Cranes, she hears a cat crying somewhere in the house. But the Cranes don't own a pet. So Mallory and the girls go exploring, and they discover a mysterious white cat hiding in the attic. They name him Ghost Cat, and the mystery is solved. They think. Until Mallory and the girls continue to hear eerie cries coming from the attic. If Ghost Cat is sitting right there with them, who or what is upstairs in the attic? That book is really going to take me back, I think, to being a kid and loving mysteries and loving creepy ghost stories. I'm sure it won't seem as creepy to me now as an adult, but I did. I really loved those books when I was younger. Another series that I want to have in my collection is the Sweet Valley Super Chiller series, which is this, and then also the Sweet Valley High books, which I've got some of those right here, as you can see. And there's maybe a couple of maybe the first 5 of the Sweet Valley Twins that I would want to have, but that's probably it. When the Wakefield kids are invited to their Aunt Helen's country inn, Stephen and Jessica are determined to use the eerie old mansion to scare their sister Elizabeth into believing in ghosts. But no matter what Stephen and Jessica do, logical Elizabeth always figures out their tricks. Then things start happening that even Elizabeth can't explain, and all the Wakefield kids are afraid that the inn really is haunted. Will they make it through this summer, sharing their vacation with an unfriendly ghost? What did you read when you were a kid? I want to know. And also, if you've read any of these books, or you want to read any of them, or you want to comment on any of them, feel free to do that. I'd love to talk to you about these books. The next one is Ghost Cat by Beverly Butler. Being stuck with a bunch of unfriendly relatives was definitely not the way Annabelle wanted to spend her summer. But everything changes when the ghost of a beautiful cat appears to her one morning. The cat draws Annabelle to a frightening mystery. Many years ago, a woman disappeared. Now she and her cat are crying out to Annabelle for help. How could Annabelle have conjured up these ghostly spirits? And now that they've contacted her, what do they want her to do? I didn't read this as a kid. I happen to love the Apple paperbacks that Scholastic put out. And I love books about ghosts, and I love books about cats, and I love mysteries. And so I decided to get this book. But it sounds pretty creepy, doesn't it? Oh, sorry. Calm down. Marty was falling asleep, and I just scared him. This next book, you guys are probably going to laugh. There's a series out there that I think everyone but me has read. And I decided, or everybody that likes books anyway, I think has read this series. And so I decided to be the last one to jump on the train. And that is the Harry Potter train. So I went ahead and got the first book. A rousing first novel, this hugely enjoyable fantasy is filled with imaginative details, from oddly flavored jelly beans to dragons' eggs hatched on the hearth. Okay, stop. I know you love books, but if you could refrain from playing with them because you have these sharp claws, sir. Agatha Christie. I've got 3 books already by Agatha Christie, and they all are different editions. One is a Berkeley mystery, one's a pocket mystery, and the other one is a collectible large, I don't know if it's leather or fake leather, but one of those. So I'm not going to stick to one edition or format. I'm not sure what you call that. But one that I personally like, because I really like the covers on these, is the William Morrow series. So the first one that I got is A Murder is Announced. The villagers of Chipping Cleghorn are agog with curiosity when the Gazette advertises. A murder is announced and will take place on Friday, October 29th at Little Paddocks at 6:30 p.m. A childish practical joke or a spiteful hoax? Unable to resist the mysterious invitation, the locals arrive at Little Paddocks at the appointed time when, without warning, the lights go out and a gun is fired. When they come back on, a gruesome scene is revealed. An impossible crime? Only Miss Marple can unravel it. So that is all the books that I got at Better World Books. And then when I went to the Goodwill, I was not looking for books. I was trying to be a good girl and not get any books. But because I do want to have a few collections in my library, I will always be on the lookout for those. And if I see certain vintage books, I love vintage books. I love older books. I feel like there's just something very mystical and quaint about them that I don't find with newer books. And it feels kind of good to keep history alive a little bit and read these books and talk about them and maybe hopefully inspire other people to read them too. So I did get, I got a book that is a vintage book that is not one of my collection books. I got a book for the book club, and then the rest of them are all for my collection. More Agatha Christie books. But like I said, down here there's a bunch of timestamps, and if any of these parts of the video you're not interested in, you can just skip around. I won't take it personally. So this one is Endless Night. Some are born to sweet delight. Some are born to endless night. When penniless Michael Rogers discovers the beautiful house at Gypsy's Acre and then meets the heiress Ellie, it seems that all his dreams have come true at once. But he ignores an old woman's warning of an ancient curse, and evil begins to stir in paradise. As Michael soon learns, Gypsy's Acre is the place where fatal accidents happen. I'm on a roll. I want to get as many of her books as I can. The nice part is I can put them in my TBR section and then later put them in an Agatha Christie collection. And I think that'll be really nice down below my Agatha Christie canvas print that I have on the wall, which if you haven't seen it, go watch my library tour. That's where you can see it. The Murder on the Links. An urgent cry for help brings Hercule Poirot to France, but he arrives too late to save his client, whose brutally stabbed body now lies face down in a shallow grave on a golf course. But why is the dead man wearing an overcoat that is too big for him? And for whom was the impassioned love letter in the pocket? Before Poirot can answer these questions, the case is turned upside down by the discovery of a second identically murdered corpse. I just love the covers on these ones, though. I got another one. After the funeral, I guess I might have to read these in order, huh? I haven't even thought about that part. When Cora Lansquenet is savagely murdered with a hatchet, the extraordinary remark she made the previous day at her brother Richard's funeral suddenly takes on a chilling significance. At the reading of Richard's will, Cora was clearly heard to say, "It's been hushed up very nicely, hasn't it?" But he was murdered, wasn't he? In desperation, the family solicitor turns to Hercule Poirot to unravel the mystery. I got The Last Seance, Tales of the Supernatural, from the Queen of Mystery, an all-new collection of Agatha Christie's spookiest and most sinister stories, including one never before published in the United States. This is a group of short stories, which I think is going to be perfect around Halloween. Then I got The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson. This won't be part of the Thriller Reads book club until November of 2023, but I really like this copy of it. I love the bright, cheerful colors. I haven't watched the movie because I heard there's something in it that I might find triggering. I'm going to know that going into the book, so I'll be prepared, but I think this beautiful, bright, cheerful cover might help keep me okay. But I find if I know that a book will be triggering and I walk into it knowing that, it's nowhere near as triggering. So I'm kind of like mentally prepared for it kind of thing. Harriet Wenger, scion of one of Sweden's wealthiest families, disappeared over 40 years ago. All these years later, her aged uncle continues to seek the truth. He hires Mikael Blomqvist, a crusading journalist recently trapped by a libel conviction, to investigate. He is aided by the pierced and tattooed punk prodigy Lisbeth Salander. Together, they tap into a vein of unfathomable iniquity and astonishing corruption. A dark-hearted thriller, huh? I've got a year to prepare mentally for that book. Luckily. Sorry if the light keeps changing. I've got the blinds mostly closed over here, and Marty is playing with the blinds. What are you looking at out there? We have been getting a lot of birds the last few days in our backyard, and Marty is just loving it. Yeah, I was talking about you. Did you hear him? You're so talkative. Yes. One of the things I look for when I'm looking for books, obviously I'm looking for the ones I'm collecting, but when I'm looking for vintage books also, I look for this little Warner Brothers symbol on the side of books because I don't see them anymore. And I looked into it, and it turns out Warner Brothers in 2007 changed their name to Grand Central, which I don't know if I see a lot of Grand Central books, but that tells me when I see this symbol on the spine of a book, this book was published in 2007 or before, which It's kind of cool to know that ahead of time, right? I love this cover. Look at this. Isn't that wonderful? I mean, that's why I got the book, if I'm honest with you. I picked it up. I thought, oh, what's this? And I looked at the cover and I thought, I'm just going to get it. And then when I was in line, I read the synopsis and I thought it sounded pretty good. But I want the cover. Have you ever bought a book just because of the cover? Apparently, I now have. I think I have in the past too. I just don't remember. But she may be a best-selling author, but ex-librarian Jacqueline Kirby's views on the publishing biz aren't fit to print. In fact, she's thinking of trading celebrity for serenity and a house far away from fiendish editors and demented fans when her agent whispers the only words that could ever make her stay. Naked in the Ice. 7 years ago, this blockbuster skyrocketed Kathleen Darcy to instant fame. Now the author's heirs are looking for a writer to pen the sequel. It's an opportunity no novelist in her right mind would pass up, and there's no doubting Jacqueline's sanity until she starts digging through the missing women's papers and her past, until she gets mixed up with Kathleen's enigmatic lover, until a series of nasty accidents convince her, much too late, that someone wants to bring Jacqueline's story and her life to a premature end. And this book was published in 1989, or originally published in 1989. So I was 13 years old when this book came out. Something about it sounds like it's going to be kind of spicy, doesn't it? Kind of sexy, maybe? I mean, why is she sitting there naked? I'll find out and I'll let you know. 2 more books for my collection, and then one other fun little book that I didn't buy, but I have to tell you about. I got The Babysitter by R.L. Stein. So most of these, did I tell you this? I don't know. So most of these Goodwill books I got for $1, which, I mean, we can't even get books for $1 at the Dollar Tree anymore. They're now $1.25. So when I see books for $1, that's, now this wasn't $1. It was one thing about the Goodwill, just to let you know in case you haven't gone there for used books, which I do definitely recommend it. If you want to collect a bunch of books, it's a really good place to go and not break the bank. They have a color each week that they assign, and that color on the tag is half off. Well, when I went yesterday, the half off color was orange. And some of the colors are not, because they're considered collectible items, they don't go on sale as often. From the minute Jenny accepted the Hagen babysitting job, she knew she had made a mistake. First, there was the dark and disheveled Hagen house, moaning and groaning with her every step. Then the crank phone calls started. Hi, babes. Are you all alone? Company's coming. Then Jenny discovered a creepy neighbor prowling in the backyard and a threatening note in her backpack. She realized this wasn't a harmless game. But who would want to hurt her? And what kind of maniac wanted to scare Jenny to death? Well, Marty thinks this book sounds good. Do you hear him down there? You think it sounds good? Are crank calls even a creepy thing anymore? Because we have cell phones and we spam indicators and restricted and all this stuff. Like, we don't even answer calls when we don't know who it is usually, right? So I wonder if younger people will even understand how creepy the thought of getting a call like this was before caller ID and before smartphones and cell phones and that kind of stuff. I mean, it was, you had no idea who was calling. The last book that I got at the Goodwill was The Secret of the Old Clock by Carolyn Keene. It's Nancy Drew's book number 1. And this has an original copyright date of 1930. Brad's dad used to work for Simon & Schuster. I mean, a long time ago. And this was in the 70s. I think maybe the early 80s as well. And one of the perks of working there was they gave him a copy of every new book that was released. And So apparently he's got boxes and boxes and boxes of books. I didn't know this until I discovered this book, or actually Brad discovered it in one of his boxes. So his dad likes to, well, when we still lived in Florida, he would throw a bunch of Brad's things in a box and drop them off at our house. And sometimes he'd throw things in there that weren't Brad's. And it was kind of a family joke. And a lot of the time, he would throw a book or two in there, trying to get rid of all these books he has from his Simon & Schuster days. Well, when Brad came across this book, he had to give it to me because he thought it sounded pretty cool, actually. And it's just a fun vintage book. And I told him, well, tell your dad if he has more of those, just send them to me. I'll read them. I'll talk about them. I love the thought of having a bunch of vintage books. And I just think it's kind of funny that he used to work there. I didn't even know that until he just told me. But this book is called An Old Friend from High School. And it was originally published in 1978. I don't know if it has more than one edition or not. A tender, torrid, bawdy novel about women who love each other. Allison writes songs, adores her husband, likes her life. Mara takes pictures, is wise but cynical, and prefers the intimacy of women. They were old friends in high school. Suddenly, they're more than just friends. Relentlessly, exquisitely, terrifyingly, Allison is falling in love with Mara. Well, so this is a book about two women that fall in love with each other back in a time when that was still pretty taboo, I think, in the late 70s. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to read this book and really realize how much things have changed. So I think this will be really fun. What a wonderful collector's item. Okay, well, that is it for my excessively large used book haul. Hopefully, I won't be buying any books for a while. Well, we'll see how that works out. What is it with me, right? I can't help it. I have to get books. And I explained why in a video recently. The book acquiring book tab. I explained in that video why I am such a book collector and why I don't know if I want to call myself a hoarder. I mean, they're very organized and in place, and I do get rid of books. I don't keep every book that I purchase. I donate them. I give them to I turn them into the local used bookstore, that kind of stuff. So I'm certainly not hoarding them, I wouldn't say, but I do collect them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Happy reading. Bye.